What up, Heal Faction? Welcome back to Heal. The devil's right here. Missed you too, baby girl. All right, so before we get to the viewer discretion and everything, I got some technical difficulties I gotta iron out real quick. Alright. Resent it to him. He is welcome. Come on, son. It's one of the problems of a live show, ladies and gentlemen.
Nothing can go wrong if it's live. Oh, sorry, Vince.
Ooh, we got something for that seal shit tonight too, don't we? What did you
We got quite a bit. Please work. Please work.
All right, simmer down.
No, because if I can switch off this fucking phone and back onto my laptop, that's exactly what I'm about to do.
All right, let's see who this is.
All right.
Kyle Sharp is on stream.
I'm a mute real quick.
Whoa!
What up, Kyle Sharp? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are y'all?
All right, is there any way that... Hold on a second.
You're fuzzy.
There we go.
All right, can everybody hear us? Yeah.
Can we hear each other?
Yep.
Hi.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle, you're
Oh,
really
hello.
small. Like your resolution is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Turn off that 2008 shit.
I think it's the background.
We can hear him though.
We can hear him. That's the important thing.
Yeah. He's so mysterious.
Yeah, that's half the allure right there. Just keeping it mysterious, y'all.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's viewer discretion time.
Viewer discretion is advised.
What up, Heel Faction? Welcome back to Heel Shit. Why do we call it that? Because bad guys do heel shit. I'm Dark Cordz. That's Draven Grimes. Why don't you introduce our guest for us?
Oh, 2 weeks straight. Hold on, let me get a little sippy sip. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of at least 16 years of older. Because if you're younger than that, I don't know why the fuck you're watching this. Your parents are terrible role models, and y'all need to fucking get some discipline. I present to you the brother of the notorious KID and one of my very good personal friends, Mr. Kyle Sharp. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, it's very good to have you on. So we're going to spend a few minutes with Kyle. Well, the whole episode with Kyle. We're just going to see what's going on with him, and then we got a little bit of That's Heel Shit coming up at the end of the show. We'll get into it right after this.
Cool. Living fast, we ain't slowing down. Always ready to turn heads around. Heel Shit Podcast, where the bad boys reign. Never following the norm, always causing pain.
Anything.
What's up, fellas? You know what I realized? when I'm playing the intro, you guys see me, right?
Yeah, we see you. We don't hear the intro.
Yeah. I just realized that when we were live on Wix Station, when I played the intro, all they saw was me fucking dancing to the shit. Like
they saw that, and they saw my name, so
they probably didn't even hear the intro.
That sounds like a whole lot of their problems. Tune into our shit.
All right. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm all right. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Hadn't seen you in a while. Tell us a little bit about where people can find you right now, what you've been up to recently.
Most people can find me in New Wave Championship Wrestling. I believe August 31st, Wausau, Florida.
Correct. You know who you're working yet?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am working Bryson Rage, the man I hold responsible for my younger brother's early retirement.
Yes, and for those of you that don't know, Billy's been going through a lot of mental and emotional issues over the past few weeks, to the point to where he was actually admitted into a psychiatric facility in Montgomery. So thoughts and prayers, likes and shares towards Billy. Please don't blow his Facebook up. Don't blow up any of his social medias. They have been temporarily shut down. And please give the family some space in this time.
Heel fingers in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to the notorious KID.
Yep. But not to sound like an asshole, because Billy's one of my good friends as well. But tonight's not about Billy. Tonight, it's about Kyle. This is the platform for you to be able to come and tell your story, get everything you want off your chest. So let's start at the beginning. What got you into professional wrestling? What was the moment that you had that spark? I was like, I want to be a wrestler.
Yeah, very good question. So I think I might have been 4 or 5, living in California, and this the show comes on TV, and all I saw was Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, and I just, it's being that young, I was enthralled. I was like, wow, this is absolutely incredible. And I knew then, like, from then on, like, I never wanted to do or be anything else.
Right.
We grew up with friends that wanted to be, firefighters, cops, lawyers, doctors, and all due respect to all that, that's all well and good, but it just didn't appeal to me. And I know it might sound kind of funny, hey, getting your ass kicked appeals to you, yeah, and in an ironic way, it does. And wrestling has always kind of been my, for lack of a better term, savior. When everything in my life was bad, wrestling was always there.
Right. So what would you say was like that one defining moment?
Probably when my dad took me to my first show, my first live show, and seeing it on TV and seeing it live are two completely different things. And I would highly suggest anybody who hasn't go check it out. But I think it was Roddy Piper and Ric Flair I saw, and that did it. That was it for me.
Dude, you lucky motherfucker. Damn. I'd love to see
Oh,
that shit.
just wait, it gets better.
I'm listening. So let's kind of move it up a little bit. How did you exactly get into the business? How did you go about getting into a school or starting training? Who were your hookups? Let's go to the early days.
Yeah, and so before I get into that, I'm going to back up just a little bit further to when I was in high school. I had an English class with this girl that ended up sitting in front of me, and she's like, hey, you're into wrestling, and my boyfriend's really into wrestling. The two of you should meet. And we ended up meeting, and he had long, scraggly hair and was kind of like an outcast and a misfit, and I had my camouflage cap and weird-looking porn mustache, and we were polar opposites, but he ended up becoming one of my best friends, and we would go to the beach just about every weekend and wrestle. We'd film everything. We'd have little crowds and stuff like that. And then you fast forward, my next door neighbor was, ironically, he was in McDonald's, and this guy standing next to him was like, I got a wrestling show coming up, but I'm a little, short on talent. And Mr. Lynn was like, hey, my next door neighbor is into wrestling. So he gives him a card, and I called the guy. His name was Tom Carter. I don't know if y'all know who that is, but I gave him a call, and he's like, yeah, email me all your information and, height, weight. And so I did, and never laid eyes on the guy. And he responds with an email, welcome to the ECWA. And I was like, well, holy shit. This guy's never even laid eyes on me.
Nice.
Right.
And, he decided to give me a shot. And, of course, I couldn't leave my boys behind, so I brought them with me. And after that, we got introduced to Bat and Wolf, known as the Night Creatures. And they were like, hey, who trained you guys? We're like, we did. We monkey see, monkey do. We would play video games, and whatever we saw on a video game, we would go outside and we would do that, and we would just put shit together. And
Right.
if it worked, it stuck. So Bat and Wolf are like, well, hey, how about you guys let us train you? Sure, why not? Are like, nobody else is doing it, so let's go. A very, very humble beginnings when it comes to my first few bumps, because it was dirt, grass, tree roots, and a little bit of carpet padding. I wasn't trained in a ring, but they looked at me and said, if this is what you want, then this is how we're going to do it. Let's find out if this is really what you want to do. And sorry, we don't have the setup, but here you go, take it or leave it. And, to this day, I love those guys, because without them, who knows what would have happened. But there was a lot of hurt backs, a lot of hurt necks, and here's what you do and here's what not to do. And I got my ass beat a lot, but, in retrospect, I think it was all for the better, because it ended up working itself out really well.
10-4, brother. 10-4. 1 second.
So was that the first promotion you ever worked a match in?
Yes, sir. It was ECWA.
Sorry, Eric. Messaged me something I'll deal with that when I get off work.
Yeah.
Or off work. I'm getting this is work. Second job.
That's right.
W2s. Yeah. All right, so let's fast forward into a little bit of character development. Going off of ECWA, what was the character that you were trying to build up? And you know what? Just give me like the first 3 to 5 years. What's up, kid? Ain't seen you in a while.
Come say hi to everybody real quick.
Hi.
Hey, buddy. I'll be seeing you next month.
Yes, sir. Walk away, little buddy. So
I wish my
yeah,
kids listened that well.
Walk away.
God, I wish my
Yeah.
kids listened that well.
The first few years, it all goes back to the guys that I was in high school with. We were all doing WWE knockoff gimmicks, and well, excuse me, he was doing a WCW knockoff gimmick. He was doing a gimmick of what's his name, La Parca, and he called himself Death Control, which is Spanish for out of control and rabid.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, at the time I was 55 pounds. And one of my favorite wrestlers at the time was Rhino, but that one was taken, so I called myself Hippo.
Nice. Nice. What was your finisher?
Spear, actually.
You didn't call it anything special?
No, I'm not that
The
creative.
chomp or anything?
Oh man, see, that's where you messed up, because I heard a story from Rhino actually about 3 or 4 months ago, where he said, and I quote, "Nobody's ever kicked out of a gore," and when somebody would bring up a match that somebody kicked out of it, he said, "No, that wasn't a gore, that was a spear."
Right. The ones that were kicked out of were spears. No one's ever kicked out of the gore.
Exactly. Oh man, the Hippo. Yeah, your name's getting changed to my phone tonight. Sorry, bro.
Yeah,
Sorry, bro.
hey, you got to make sure it's Hippo with a Y, not an I.
With a Y, I got you.
Yeah.
You. 1 or 2 P's.
2.
2 P's.
So HIPPY?
That's hippie.
No, motherfucker.
You dirty bastard. Oh, all right. So, kind of got got a base. So, tell me where, and this might be a spoiler. So if it's a spoiler, fuck you guys. Tell me how
That's
Malachi
right.
came. Tell me how Malachi came to be.
Yeah, so again, interesting story. I had been with SPW, Ron and Tara Ivy, for a long time, and actually that's where I met Billy Sharp. I think he was 16 at the time, and they had made me like, and in an ironic twist, I'm 250 pounds, and they made me their light heavyweight champion.
It's that
I had kind of reached a point where I felt I did everything I could do with Hippo. There was only so far I could go with that. There was only so many things I could do, and it was time. And I got together with Nathan and Josh and Bat and Wolf, and I'm like, okay, guys, let's, everybody's kind of going a different direction, and I'm stuck in limbo, and I can't do that. I'm not gonna fucking stay here forever.
Right.
So what do we do? And we all got together, and there was this guy at the time, I believe his name was Mordecai. And, say what you want about old Kevin Thorne, but I thought the Mordecai character was all right. He wasn't the greatest, but the concept of what he was trying to do was really intriguing. And I'm like, okay, so, that's kind of where I want to take this character. And they're like, well, you can't call yourself Mordecai, so what are you going to call yourself? And I'm like, well, I'm not real big on the whole 2-name thing. All due respect to everybody who goes by 2 names. I mean, hell, now I'm Kyle Sharp. So, I mean, there's that. But I was like, what's a good name that would stand out, that just sounds menacing, that just sounds like, man, this dude's an ass kicker. This guy's going to come out here and he's going to fuck you up. And I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, Malachi. And they're like, hey, that's genius. And in all due respect to everybody, you know, I understand that Malachi was a prophet in the Bible, and my Malachi was anything but that.
Mm-hmm.
No, your Malachi
And
was. Every time I hear the name Malachi, I immediately think of the evil little fucker from Children of the Corn. That's
you'd be surprised how many people ask me if that's where I got it, and I'm like, no, ironically, it isn't.
yeah, no,
So
but
the day came where Bat and Wolf were like, okay, so how do we kill this guy off, and how do we bring this guy out? And we're like, hey, let's have a body bag match. And Hippo died, Malachi was born, which I can honestly say was probably the smartest choice I had made at the time. Because
Mm-hmm.
face heel, it didn't matter. Malachi took off.
Good deal.
that's what everyone wants with their gimmick. All right, before we go on, I want to take a quick step away for shouting out the sponsors.
Pay those bills.
Havoc Energy Drink is an energy drink for gamers and streamers by gamers and streamers. Not only does it have the B vitamins and the caffeine that you're used to in an energy drink, it also has a healthy dose of creatine for mental acuity to help you win that next game or make it through that next stream. Head over to tryhavocenergy.com, enter the code HSP10 at checkout for 10% off your order. Me and Draven swear by the stuff. We drink it every day. It's great as my morning coffee since I don't drink coffee. So give it a shot. Head over to tryhavocenergy.com and enter the code HSP10 at checkout for 10% off your order. Also, Amazon Music Unlimited. If you use our link in the description, you can get your first month free from a subscription to Amazon Music Unlimited. You get unlimited access to 100 million songs at the click of a button. $9.99 a month after your first 30 days, and cancel anytime. All right, fellas, you can proceed.
Dude, I just realized I gotta make a rush order for Havoc tomorrow. I have my last scoop tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, this weekend's going to be interesting. Very interesting. So, Mr. Kyle,
Yes, sir.
I should have asked you this before we got on air, but how deep are we allowed to go?
Wow, that's a very penetrating question. Just go with it, man. I mean, I'm an open book.
Well, I don't want to get to a place where you're uncomfortable because I know off camera, just me and you, we've talked about some deep shit and a lot of personal shit in your background. So I just want to make sure, you know, I'm not going to put you up against the wall where you feel uncomfortable and don't want to put anything out.
Yeah, I promise to both of y'all this. If it does get to a point, I'll let you know. But I'm an open book, man. You know, on camera, off camera, I'm me, and I try to have that set me apart from everybody else. You know, whether it's kayfabe, non-kayfabe, doesn't matter. Ask away.
All right, brother. All right. So we got the background for Hippo. Oh man, that's all you're ever be for until the day you die. Now. Fuck Hippo.
I still have the mask.
You have a fucking hippo mask?
Yeah.
Dude, I need you to bring it in September. I gotta see it.
Fuck that. Put it on right now.
Put it on right. No. Let's not put it on now. If you want to see that, go to the Patreon. We'll get a picture.
Yeah.
Depending on the mask, it might show up on Draven's G spot.
Hey now. Use the code HSP10 for 10% off. Oh, so Kyle, we've talked about a lot of personal things of personal belief and beyond. But in order for us to get to that side, we kind of got to go through the deep dark valley. Was the business in any way, shape, or form accredited at all to your, any of your previous vices?
You're kind of breaking up a little bit. Say that again.
Which part did you not hear?
Like the lead up to the question.
Okay. So is the business in any way, shape, or form responsible for any of the vices that you partook earlier in your life? Or was that something that happened before you got into wrestling?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, a little unprepared for that one. Before I answer that, let me put this out there. I do not blame anybody, and I do not blame anything for the choices I made in life.
Mhm.
But to directly answer your question, yes, it did. And see, like most drunk stories always start off, what had happened was I was actually in a match with Billy Sharp, and I had developed Malachi into a very, very dark, vicious character. And after one of the matches one night, I went to give him a nice little punt to the head, and the contact was good. But when I came off of his head, I planted wrong and tore my ACL completely away from my knee.
Oh
Oh,
shit!
good Lord.
And after that, I wrestled two more matches that night, and one of them ended up being a ladder match, which further damaged my knee, and so on and so forth. But at the time, I didn't. I was in my early mid 20s. I'm still full of piss and vinegar and bulletproof, and I didn't really know anything was wrong. I just thought, hey, my knee hurts, and I walked around with my right leg swinging out to the right every time I would take a step for 3 years before I finally was like, I can't deal with it anymore.
Holy shit, dude.
Fuck,
And
dude.
yeah, it was bad. I went to physical therapy, and the physical therapist takes my leg, and my leg does this
Oh hell no!
from the knee to the ankle. It does that, and he's like, "Hey, that's not right." Yeah, I'm glad you figured that out.
Oh no shit!
So I go into the orthopedic doctor, and torn ACL, torn meniscus, and whatever else was going on in there, and I had to have it repaired. Like that ACL had to come out, and they had to put another one in there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when you have an operation like that, what do they give you? Pain medicine, opioids.
100%.
And at first, and I'm going to be as candid as I can be. At first, one did the trick, but then it got to where one wasn't cutting it, so it turned into 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Then 1.5 turned into 2, and so on and so on and so on. And before you know it, and I kind of a tough one for me to say, but it got to a point where they would refill my prescriptions, and before I left the parking lot, I would down 7 of them, and we're talking 10 milligram, lower taps, and I would down 7 of them in the parking lot.
Mm. Mm.
And I would go through 100 pills in about 5 to 6 days, depending on how high I wanted to get.
Yes.
Damn, brother. How long did this go on for? Like, okay, when did you injure? What year did you injure your leg? First off,
Let's see. My oldest boy is about to be 17. And this is right before my ex-wife got pregnant with him. So 06, maybe.
okay. So from 06 to how long did it take to get to rock bottom? That low point in the valley.
Uh,
Again, if you're not comfortable talking about it, we don't have to talk about it.
well, no. It's the answer to this question all depends on how honest y'all want me to be right now.
It depends
Brother.
on how honest you want to be right now. We want
it's not up to us. This is your time.
I guarantee you our fans can take anything you have to say.
Yes,
it just depends on how detailed you want to get into it.
And let me go ahead and say this now. And there's nothing you're going to say on here tonight that's going to make me or Dark or any of our fans think any differently than you. You're my fucking brother. I love you to fucking death. There's not a thing I wouldn't do for you, and that's not going to change.
Cool. All right. Well, rock bottom kind of happened when I had kind of an epiphany, but it wasn't an epiphany that just came into my brain. Me and my current wife and kids were living in a house with no insulation. We had no food. We had no running water. Barely had any lights, and I ended up stealing thousands of dollars from my mom and dad just to feed my pill habit because I didn't want to go through withdrawal. I didn't want to be dope sick.
Right.
And my mom and dad, who were great fucking people, by the way, would help us out and at the time buy us cigarettes and shit. And I would take their ATM card and I'd go get $400 out every time. And unfortunately for me, certain pills are $30 a piece. So it all goes really fast. And like I said, man, I had a problem where I would do 3 and 4 at a time. And that's kind of when it happened was when my mom and dad approached me and they're like, "Hey, do you realize what the fuck's going on here?" And I'm like, no, and honestly, I didn't, to a certain point. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
And they came at me with, "This is how much money you've taken out of the bank account," which the amount taken, I always disputed because had I taken that much money, we'd have had food and lights and water, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is money was taken and I used it to feed a habit.
Right. Damn. So when you finally hit rock bottom, did you give yourself that long hard look that it seems very cliche, for anybody that's not been through something like this or have gone through like a life altering experience? Did you give yourself that long hard look in the mirror and you had that conversation with yourself, or did you just skip that and said, "Fuck this, we're gonna do what we have to get out of this bullshit"?
Yeah, you're asking all the right questions, man. And no, I did not have the conversation with myself. And in fact, what we did was pack up our shit and move to Panama City to one of my brother-in-law's houses. It's actually my wife's dad's property. And from there, things got even worse.
Damn. I gotta ask, dude.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to go into detail about it, but define worse. Like, this already seems like you're pretty much at rock bottom. Like, I don't see where you're grabbing a shovel and digging a hole further down.
All right. Well, so what I should have done is had the long talk with myself. I should have sat my wife down and said, "Hey, this is fucked up, and we've got to get our shit together, for the kids, for ourselves, and blah blah blah." But instead, what we did was move to Panama City, where I met up with an old friend of mine, and out of respect for her, I will not say her name.
That's fine.
And she was, I didn't know it at the time, or something that happened where we quit talking because I found out she was doing methamphetamine. And even though I was on all kinds of pills, I was anti-methamphetamine. And moved back to Panama, got up with her and her husband, or whatever the fuck he was, ended up cooking a batch. And he was like, "Hey, you want to try it?" And yeah, I did. And so I didn't have to worry about coming off pills, because anybody out there who has ever done methamphetamine will tell you it's not glorifying the drug at all, but holy shit, it's something.
Right.
And that started that. And yeah, things actually got a hell of a lot worse even after that, because at that point we were just we would smoke it, we would snort it, and then something happened where, again, I'm not going to drop any names, but a member of the family was like, "Hey, I got this pain pill, if you're hurting that bad, let me go do it up for you." And for those of you who don't know what do it up means in drug language, that's let me pull it up in a syringe for you.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, cool, go ahead. Excuse me, go ahead. And the guy comes back and he sticks the needle in my arm because I have a problem where like I'm real shaky and I don't like needles, ironically enough.
Right.
And he sticks the needle in my arm and shoots the stuff into my vein. And come to find out, that wasn't a pill at all. That was even better methamphetamine. And I think that was 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. And for the next two and a half years, like my wife and I would go through anywhere from 2.5 to 5 grams a day. And yeah,
So,
next question.
so were you wrestling at all during this time span between when you recovered from your operation to 2011, 2012, like you just said?
No, I had I had 4 total knee surgeries
Mm-hmm.
because of what happened. And in 2011, my youngest daughter was born, and April and I had just gotten together, and she had 2 young kids, and I had my kid that my ever so gracious ex-wife wouldn't let me have anything to do with, and rightfully so because I was on drugs, But I was trying to let my body heal and was trying to work and trying to do all kinds of different stuff other than wrestling. I was trying to occupy my time with other things, and that's because I had actually been told by the doctor that wrestling was not a good idea and I probably shouldn't do it ever again. And I told you at the start of the show, wrestling has always been there when everything else failed, when everything else in my life was fucked up. I could walk through that curtain.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was 5 minutes, if it was 8 minutes, if it was 15 minutes, I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a bill. I didn't have drugs. I didn't have anything. I was in between those ropes, and my only thought was keeping my opponent safe.
Right.
And when I was told, hey, you can't do this anymore, I snapped, and I tried to fill that with a bunch of other things that probably didn't need to go on my body.
Right. All right. So I need you to hand me that shovel because I'm about to throw the rope down.
Yeah.
Let's get out this darkness, dude. When did you decide to say fuck it? We're done with this shit. We're moving on. Fuck the vices. Fuck all this bullshit in Panama. Let's get back to where we were.
I had excuse me, the kids were enrolled in Crestview in school and all that. And I told April, I said, look, I gotta get back. The kids are enrolled in school. Let's, fuck Panama City. Let's go home and let's get our heads on straight. And we did. And we ended up having to deal with DCF, the Department of Children and Families in Florida, and the task force knocked on my door, and thankfully didn't kick the door in, but they knocked on the door and introduced themselves, and they were like, hey, look, we've been watching you guys, we know this is going on, this is what's going to happen, you can either sign this paper or we can come back and wake your kids up the wrong way. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm done. And I looked at my wife and I said, we're done, we're fucking finished. And I signed the paper and showed them where everything was and consented to numerous drug tests a week and classes and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, and I failed to mention that at one point we had 15 people in our house. I think 9 or 10 of them were dope cooks. And yeah, so that happened, and I appreciate the rope, but I'm not quite ready to pull myself out yet because I'm about to hopefully get into what got me back into wrestling.
Well, that's what the rope's for. That's what the rope's for. So let's talk about what got you back into the business. Let's start from the fucking decision and let's move forward.
All right. Before I move forward again, I have to go back a little bit. So 2018, my wife and I are working in Destin, and we're working split shifts, one in the morning and one at night. And we have been clean at this point for about 4 years. And on the way home one day, you know, my wife's passing out at the wheel, and I'm like, hey, just pull over, and you know, I got this. And I can say with 100% certainty that I have driven 15 hours, you know, across country and shit like that, and never once have I ever nodded off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this day, you know, I'm driving, and the next thing I hear is wake up, and there's a car less than 50 feet from my hood. So I jerk the wheel, get back in the other lane, and by that point, you know, adrenaline got me. I'm awake now. But the next day, we're at work and we're in the bathroom cleaning up, and I happened to look down next to a toilet, and there was a big chunk. And I know someone was pissed off that day because it was nice.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to the supply closet, and I'm like, "Hey, babe, look." And she was like, "Yay, now you know." And one of those things where I should have flushed it down the fucking toilet. And I have told my wife and I've told my family, no one is responsible for the next bit that I'm about to tell y'all other than me.
Okay.
We do that, and one of the guys that was working there, I knew had it, and I would work different shit out with him, and you know, blah blah blah. And so from 2018 until 2021, you know, that was our relapse. And at that time, fast forward to the end of 2019, COVID starts happening. So, you know, the world shutting down, people are dropping like flies and blah blah blah. And we ended up getting kicked out of our house. And we go to my mom and dad's, and again, my mom and dad are awesome people, but shit started going sideways. Not too long after that, and we got kicked out, and we're living in a tent. I'm jobless. You know, my wife, God bless that woman, is working as much as she can, but we're high all the time. You know, shit's just in chaos, and
Mm-hmm.
I get a phone call from my sister that at the time is living in Baton Rouge, and she's like, "Hey, I need you to come get me because this is going on, and I've, you know, blah blah blah." So I called my dad, and I'm like, "Hey, you know, let's go get him," and we did, and brought them from where they were to us, which was very hard to do because of travel restrictions and all this other, you know, bullshit that was going on with COVID.
Yes.
And we get them there, and things are going okay. You know, I'm not going to say they were horrible, but I'm not going to say they were fantastic. You know, because for anybody that doesn't know, I was adopted at birth and didn't find out about any of them until I was 15. And I'd met most of them when I was younger, but she was the only one I hadn't got to spend any time with, and the only one I might add that was my full-blooded sister. And I cannot remember what it was she said, but we had made an agreement that we were going to conquer the world together. And I'm like, well, you know, we can't do this. We can't do that if we're fucking high. You know, it's just not going to work. And we had made an agreement that, hey, look, you know, let's spend some, you know, a little bit of time apart, and let's get clean, and let's do this. Let's do this whole thing. And now comes the difficult part. April 19th. One of the few times I was actually asleep. One of the few times I had actually gotten some sleep. Early that morning, my youngest kid Ezra woke up, and he was like, you know, hey, Daddy, I want a cup, and needed a diaper change and all this stuff. So I go outside to, you know, smoke and whatnot real quick, and then I go in and lay back down, and what seemed like minutes, but it was probably a couple hours later. Y'all know the popo knock, right? That just that beating on the door, and
Yes, sir, I do.
it's my sister's fiance, and he's knocking on the door so hard that it wakes my mom up out of a dead sleep. And you know, we answer the door, and she's like, hey, or excuse me, he's like, hey, you know, your sister needs a breathing treatment, which it was a very well known fact that my sister had asthma. So not anything out of the way, not anything out of the ordinary. You know, sometimes people, when they have an asthma attack, a breathing treatment opens them up and blah blah blah. Anyway, I'm standing at the edge of my bed, and I'm fixing to put my shoes on. And my mom was like, "Are you going to go check on her?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to gain my bearings because he woke me up so fast."
Mm-hmm.
Right after I got done saying that, guys, I cannot explain the way he screamed. It was like when you watch those movies where somebody walks into a house and finds a child dead, that scream that the mom lets out.
Yes.
That's how he. 1 second. That's how he called my name, and at that point, I'm not drowsy anymore. I'm running the fuck out of the front door, and guys, please, I don't. If you have young kids and you're listening, put them away because this is gonna get really graphic. And if I, if I get choked up, y'all just bear with me for a minute.
You're good, brother.
I walk in and he's holding the nebulizer up to her face, but her eyes are in the back of her head and her legs are bent back behind her and they're purple from the waist down. And I'm like, what in the fuck is going on here? This ain't no asthma attack. And hang on, y'all. He hands her to me and he says, hold her so I can do a shot. And I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? You had the slightest comprehension of what is going on here. And I said, fuck you, I'm calling 911, which he begged me not to do. And come to find out, this is a different story for a different time. He refused 4 other people from calling 911, but why they didn't, I don't know. That's neither here nor there. But anyway, I called 911 and they get there and she's coded. She's dead. They get her back. They get her to the hospital. I get to the hospital where she is hooked up to all kinds of shit. And they had to life flight her to Fort Walton. She died on the way there. They got her back. She died again and they got her back. And then 2 of my other sisters are coming up from Baton Rouge. And by the time they made it to the hospital, there was nothing else they could do. She died. And I was in shock, like utter shock. I collapsed in the parking lot of the hospital, screaming at the top of my lungs. And now comes the positive part, sort of. Amongst all this, I'm trying to find a way to better myself and better my family, which there are some things going on with the wife and kids that I'm not going to get into right now anyway. And I'm like, look, I'm leaving. I've got to get the fuck out of here. And the only way I'm going to do anything is by leaving where I'm at, because hopefully this reaches someone. You cannot heal in the same environment you got sick in.
Amen.
And sometimes, you have to take a leap of faith. And I didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. And my mom was like, well, how about Dothan? I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do when I get to Dothan? Like, are you serious? And my aunt, who has been one of the most positive influences in my life, said, hey, just go. You'll figure it out when you get there. I was like, okay. I told my wife, I said, I'm leaving, and you either coming or you're not. But I got to go. And that was the end of, right at the end of 2021. September, October, somewhere in there. And a couple weeks after I got here, I landed a job, and I'm still at that place today. We have been clean the last 2 years, and it hasn't been easy because, guys, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Even when I'm not on drugs, I'm an asshole and I'm a handful, and I know that. It's my wife and I, for the record, have been together almost 15 years. And it has not been the easiest thing. It has not been, sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops. Anybody that tells you that getting off drugs, especially with someone who was so influential on getting you on them, is easy, yeah, fuck you. It's not. And I don't necessarily know everybody's beliefs in God, and I have to put this out there that I wouldn't have what I have without him. And So there's that, and here's how I got back into wrestling. A year and 4 months after my sister passes away, we get a phone call about 10:30, and it's Billy and his wife, and they're like, "Hey, again, out of respect, no names, but our brother was just found dead in the ditch."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Oh my God!" And ironically, from the exact same thing that took my sister, an accidental overdose. And I told Billy, because at the time, like, wrestling was nowhere on my radar, nowhere. I was okay going to work and coming home and eating and get shower and shaving and going to bed. But I told him, I'm like, "Look, man, I know what it's like to lose a sibling. I know how that fucking hurts. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know." Well, not too long after that, he calls me and he says, "Hey, man, you remember when you said if there was anything I could or you could do for me?" And I'm like, "I know where this is going." He's like, "I've kind of kept your Malachi gimmick alive in case you ever wanted to come back." And I was like, "You know what?" I sat my wife and kids down. I'm like, "Hey, what do you guys think?" They're like, "Yeah, but why now?" And I was like, "Look, guys, I've put so much bad into your lives. All of you are old enough to watch me do it. Let me give you something positive. Let me show you what your husband and what your dad is really all about."
Mm-hmm.
And got up with Billy and got up with the powers that be, as it were, and that was that. And at that point, I had taken 11 years off, and I remember my first match. Billy was like, "Are you nervous?" And I'm like, "Bro, it's a whore in Catholic mass." Because it's and it's one of those things where I know I can do this, but it's been so long, and I'm in my 40s now. How is this how is this going to work? And it all ended up working itself out really well. And I would just like to point out that I've lost a sister and two brothers. In-laws for all intents and purposes, but they were my brothers to overdoses. I'm not a perfect person by any means, but if there's anybody out there listening that is struggling, I'll be your voice. I'll be your advocate. It's an everyday struggle, because I would be lying to y'all if I sat here and said, "You know what? I don't even think about it." That's 100% bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I had a day the other day where I looked at my wife and I'm like, "Look, all I got to do is make a fucking phone call. Can I please? Because it's all I want to do." And Draven, I've even said this to you, man. Like, all I want to do is just get high. Like, and that's not going to make anything better. So if you're out there and you're listening,
Mm-hmm.
I got you. It's hard, it's tough, and it's not easy. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to worry about itself. You make sure you make it through today sober, and tomorrow will work itself out.
That's right, brother. And as always, I'm always just a phone call or a message away. If you ever get that shit in your head again.
Yeah.
All right. So we're throwing the lifeline. We've got him out the hole. We got him in the ring. He's got therapy. We ain't got much time, so I definitely wanted to cover this. Billy Sharp versus Malachi. Title for title. December of 2023. You two beat the teetotal fuck, and I mean fuck with a capital F, out of each other.
Yeah.
What was going through your head through the entirety of the match? Because I know what the finish was supposed to be. And I know what got called on the fly. So walk me through the timeline of that match all the way up to Billy making that call and putting essentially that company on your back.
So yeah, we had that whole thing, like, believe it or not, man, is actually it's actually a blur, and I still watch that match back a lot, and that's kind of what I was talking about a minute ago when I was like, I don't know how this is going to work because it's so old. Like, the lead up to that match had been building and building and building because
Mm-hmm.
I have to say this real quick. You know, there are people in wrestling. You look at Bret Hart and Stone Cold. You look at the Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. You look at oh gosh, you know the list goes on. And there are people who are made for each other in this business. And
Yes.
Billy and I, and I've said this to his face, and I've told everybody. Billy and I, when it comes to being in the ring, we're made for one another. And I cannot put into words how good that man is. And you know, all due respect to the two of you, I haven't been in the ring with you guys yet.
You're preaching to the choir when it comes to Billy. I've worked him a few times over the past year. Hands down, the best matches I've had since I've come to Alabama.
Yeah, and
I've enjoyed watching all of your matches with them.
we feuded over Chief Little Bear's junior heavyweight championship for about a year, and yeah, ask him about that. But anyway, moving on. The lead up to that match had been pretty brutal in its own right because Malachi and Billy Sharp just don't really see eye to eye, and
Mm-hmm.
when it came time for that match, I was so nervous I was going to puke because I'm my own worst critic. There's not a person on this planet that is going to be harder on me than I am, especially when it comes to being in the ring. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I welcome criticism, but I am my own worst enemy. And when it came to, you know, his little crony being the special guest referee, you know, nobody really knew how that was going to go. But
Mm-hmm.
to fast forward to the end of the match, like I had no idea that was coming because we had talked about the finish and you know the power bomb onto the exposed ring, and it was going to be you know, make sure you lay your arm over me and go for the pin. I'm going to kick out, and this is how we're going to finish. Like you said, you heard, and then we go into the finish, and I lay my arm over him, and there it is. 1, 2, 3. And I don't know how much you paid attention, but if you could zoom in on the look on my face.
Dude, me alongside everybody else was in that locker room. We were all peeping through the fucking curtain. As soon as we heard the 3, there was like an utter silence. Like, oh my God, something fucked up. Somebody's fucked up. And, you know, move along to post celebration. Everybody getting to the back. Billy's like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, it's his time now. I was like, you are the most selfless motherfucker I've ever met in my life. Shake my hand. Like, Billy made you that night. And I firmly believe if that company would have kept going, because a certain motherfucker is just a piece of shit, that you would still today be the unified champion. But luckily, sometimes what looks like a bad situation is a blessing in disguise. So let's move forward a little bit. So we obviously know the fallout. We know about Billy doing the one-off for New Wave that ended up having dumbasses fucking panties in a wad that turned basically half the locker room into New Wave talent. Where were you with all this? I know we only got a few minutes left, Dark, so I'm gonna try to keep this brief. But you were the one. You were the one person that I kept asking about every time I showed up to a show. Is Malachi going to be here? What's going on with him? You know, nobody's heard shit. And I don't know if Billy was kayfabing me or not. But I remember that you were supposed to work a tag team match with him one time, and something happened and you didn't show up. So I didn't know if there was like heat between everybody and you, and it like really got me concerned. And at the time, the only way me and you communicated was through Instagram, and I shut that down for personal relationship reasons. Were you hesitant on coming to the New Wave, or was there some heat there? Like, what was your mindset there?
There was 100% no heat. When I got back into wrestling, and the I'll just put it out there. The WWA opportunity came along. I had made it abundantly clear that when I was done with WWA, my boots were going to be in the middle of that ring. That was it. And shit happens, and they shut down. Whatever. Hey, cool. On top of that, I am a Capricorn, and I am fiercely, fiercely loyal. And I really had no desire to go to New Wave. Like I did, but I didn't because I'm like, man, I don't. As an addict, I don't like change. I don't like new places. I'm horrible when it comes to new people. Like people give me anxiety, and I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about people I don't fucking know. Give me anxiety. Like I have a bad problem being in crowded places with a bunch of people I don't know.
Right.
And I had established myself in WWA. Like if I'm just being honest, and I'm going to sound like kind of a selfish prick, I didn't want to have to go anywhere and reestablish myself again.
I can understand
that. There was
Sure.
a lot of hesitation because this is ego, and we've all had one and we all got one. Why after a 20 fucking year career do I have to go somewhere else and reestablish myself when hell, just watch the fucking tapes and they'll speak for themselves. But
right.
I had to grow the fuck up, and I had to come to Jesus meeting with myself. Hey man, you're not going to get your brand, your name out there just by sitting at home. So there's that.
Right. And for anybody that doesn't know, Billy Boy still hasn't came and got these yet.
Nope.
So, Kyle, I don't know if you're still talking to him, but he can come get these at any New Wave Championship Wrestling show.
Yeah.
Just let me know ahead of time. I'm tired of carrying these bitches around.
I have to ask you guys a question.
I'm married.
Yeah. Before we get off the air, can I take a moment to tell you guys my favorite moment in wrestling?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Was it the time I drilled your brother's head into the Lucky Charms?
That's number 2.
Yes, brother. Talk to me. Tell me what's that moment?
WrestleMania 30. Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker.
Oh, don't tell me that.
I was there. And when I tell you that when there were 75,000 people in a dead fucking silence, that you could hear a pin drop. One of the most absolutely surreal moments I've ever had in my life, because you could, like, I think everybody was waiting on someone to come out and go, ha, gotcha.
Right.
Yes.
That's not what happened.
Yes. Dude, that is still the one WrestleMania I cannot go back and rewatch. Just like it killed my childhood. Like I know the match with Roman Reigns a few years later, like with the faux retirement thing at the end, like that felt final. But just seeing the thing on the screen where it said 21-1, I was like, I'm going for a walk, dude. Legit, I missed the fucking triple threat main event between Orton, Batista, and Daniel Bryan because I fucking got pissed off, took my fucking pack of cigars, and went for a fucking walk for 3 hours. I was big mad. and I'm smarting up to the business, and I was still fucking big mad. But I get that's what they were wanting. But I just can't go back and watch it. So I've never watched the triple threat with Daniel Bryan winning the titles.
Well,
fuck, dude.
Well, I think we can end it on that one. I really enjoyed listening to you guys tonight. Definitely have a inspirational story from where you've been to where you are. And from the entire heel faction, we hope and we know that you're gonna keep just getting better and better.
Yes, sir. And hopefully sooner rather than later, old Kyle Sharp's going to go one-on-one with old Dravy Wavy over here.
Yeah. I owe you guys. And
yes,
you know where to find me. I'm making more challenges. I am not as tough as I used to be, but I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep coming.
Hey, we're both pretty long in the tooth at this point in our careers. But, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Sharp will be in action August 31st in Wassail, Florida at the Possum Palace as he goes against Bryson Rage. Also, you can find him on YouTube, just look up Malachi, look up Kyle Sharp. You can find all his matches there. Good shit. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget every Monday night, Talking Shit, where Dart goes on a political rant for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Weekend Wrestling on Tuesday nights. Unfortunately, we didn't get to it this past Tuesday. We had some family issues on both sides, so it just didn't line up. And don't forget, every Thursday night, the original, the OG. You like it, you love it, you need some more of it. The original Heel Shit podcast every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And one last thing, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget the merch. You motherfucker. I was waiting for you. You're a piece of shit.
Sorry, this dude in the
merch
The
is beautiful.
No,
We have you deal with that. We have retro Draven Grimes. We have retro.
Hold on,
Dark
this
Wars
requires your
merchandise.
attention.
Well, let me get through the spiel real quick.
All right.
We got an OG TFK merchandise. We have all Heel Shit podcast merchandise at the Streamlabs merch. It's here, box somewhere. If you don't know where it is, email me. I'll send you the link. All right, I'm done. What?
In the Kick chat, this guy's username kick_AI_bot. He says, "You look like a ginger prick." And I just wanted to give you the opportunity to respond to this gentleman since you can't see the Kick chat.
I'm a prick. Well, he's only saying that because I grounded him after I fucked his mom, drunk his Capri Suns, ate his fucking Twizzlers, and defecated in his pillow.
That's
So,
how you get pink
Yeah,
eye.
you know what?
So,
You
kid-
can tell that dude to go back to whatever fucking basement he's hiding in and fuck off.
So, kid, listen, I'm about to walk out this door. You better be in your fucking room. I'm going to have the fucking belt with me. We know how we do this in the dirty, dirty South. I'm going to whip that ass. Dart, take us out of here. I'll be back.
All right, with that, for Draven Grimes, I'm Dark Cordz, and we'd like to thank Kyle Sharp for joining us tonight. This has been Heel Shit. Why do we call it that? Because bad guys do heel shit. Peace.
Heel Shit Podcast, where the bad boys reign, never following the norm, always causing pain.